Strong album by The Who, but a weak deception by the president, who is now saying the reports of problems at the border are phony. This latest assault first came in the form of a tweet. You're looking at it now, targeting Democrats, accusing them of telling, quote, phony stories of sadness and grief, hoping it will help them in the elections. Odd, when President Trump was just saying the same images and reports broke his heart and moved him to fix his mess with that confounding executive order. Why do I say confounding? Because we hear tonight that that order has been causing fierce arguments inside the White House. The New York Times reports that Trump administration officials have been at odds over how to carry out the president's directive. They don't know what he meant, they don't know what he wants, or how to get whatever it is done. Just as much chaos inside as there appears to be outside. And if it's all phony, why did his own wife, First Lady Melania Trump, go to the border to see and hear these stories of sadness and grief? Maybe that was Trump's jacket she had on, because she sure seemed to care and not think any of this is phony. And of course, she's right. Numbers from HHS confirm the reality. The Health and Human Services Department. More than 11,600 undocumented minors are in custody. So what did the president do? If the facts aren't in his favor, shift to a new line of attack. Maybe the kids and folks on the border are in a bad spot, but they deserve no sympathy because they're a bunch of killers, gangbangers, and drug pushers. And the real people to care about are their victims.
These are the American citizens permanently separated from their loved ones. They're not separated for a day or 2 days. These are permanently separated. These are the families the media ignores. They don't talk about them. Very unfair. For years, their pain was met with silence. Their plight was met with indifference, but no more.
Now, what he's saying is untrue, but it is strong medicine, because he is right in this way. These families should have never lost loved ones thanks to a broken system, and they do deserve our respect and sympathy. But Trump's suggestion that the kids in cages don't matter because other migrants are criminals, or that we should see all migrants as potential killers, well, all that is as ugly as the politics have gotten. And this may ultimately come down to what the law demands of and from Trump. And that's a big focus of the show tonight. There are two big cases afoot, and we're going to get after both of them. First, joining us is Governor Jay Inslee, Democrat from Washington. Welcome to Primetime. You've heard what the president says the truth is, and you say you disagree. Why?
Well, look, America is better than this. We know that this gross inhumanity is obvious to anyone with a beating heart. And we know that a president who lied about what he did, lied about why he did it, lied about whether Congress was required to fix it, and is still lying tonight about this situation, cannot be trusted, and we need judicial relief. We need the U.S. Constitution. And I tell you, I do believe we're going to win this, because his cruelty is going to be defeated by our compassion.
What's the basis of the suit, Governor? Help people understand.
So the U.S. Constitution has due process rights and equal protection rights that are invested in the U.S. Constitution. And his chaos is going to be defeated ultimately by the U.S. Constitution.
The pushback will be, how can you apply the Constitution to people who aren't citizens?
Because these programs do apply to people who legally can apply for asylum. We have won cases based on these very constitutional principles all over already against Donald Trump. We have stood up to this bully in Washington State on the refugee ban, on the Muslim ban, and we have won, I think, the last 5 cases against him. And the reason is that this is obviously a cruel, intentional infliction of child abuse. You can't call it anything but this. The thing that's so disgusting about this is that this wasn't terror promoted by accident. This isn't anxiety and fear that was foisted on these children by accident. It was intentional, and it's still intentional. And that's why we need judicial relief. You can't trust this man for the time of day. And right now, as you pointed out, They have no idea what they're doing. No one in their administration knows what their policy is. These people couldn't run a two-car funeral.
Well, but listen to his argument.
We saw this in the refugee ban.
Listen to his argument and rebut it for the audience if you can, which is, hey, don't blame me for the laws, Governor. They are what they are. They were signed before I got here, and if I want to enforce the law, families get separated because I can't keep kids the way I can keep adults. So don't blame me. Blame the laws and go fix them.
Well, this is the same argument that he's been making when he lied to us, who said that the statute required these families to be separate. The statute does not require separation of children from their parents. There is no such law in the United States. This is the same fella who said that Barack Obama was born in Kenya, and it's the same fella that's now trying to smear an entire group of people, arguing that this is M13. Look, the M stands for mother in this case. These are mothers who were gang raped. These are mothers whose children were forced into sort of almost slavery when they were forced to go into drug running gangs. These are the victims of violence.
You're referring to the MS-13 suggestion. You're referring to the suggestion by the president that this is about who's coming over. And it's MS-13, which is very active in your own state, and that these are killers and drug dealers. We're getting the worst of the worst, and you want to treat them as the best of the best. Your rebuttal.
My rebuttal is these are 3-year-olds who were victimized by gangs. There's a certain irony that a president who cares about this situation, we all hate gang warfare, but don't take it out on the victims of the gangs. The vast majority of these people were victims of violence, not perpetrators, and they have a legal right, and we should reiterate this. These are people under the laws of the United States who have a legal right to seek asylum. But this was an intentional act, first of propaganda to lie about it, and secondly, to terrorize these families so they would not be able to use their legal right to even seek asylum. That's why we need judicial relief, and I'm glad my state and 10 other states, including Iowa, I'm in Iowa tonight, we got people standing up to bullies. We got Fred Hubble, who's running for governor here tonight, standing up against this type of thing. But, I'm glad to be allied with
there is a policy argument here to be had, though, which is the system ain't working, Governor. The way that they're separating right now, you can argue that that's a harsh policy that they didn't need to impose to enforce the law, but the laws themselves aren't working. You're getting people in here that can't be processed. You don't have the right resources. There's a lot within the system that's not getting fixed, and the charge from the Republicans to the Democrats is, and you're standing by and watching it burn. You could have fixed it before and you didn't. Not you, you're a governor. They're talking about Congress. And now you're playing to advantage and hoping it helps you in the elections instead of working to fix the system that you know is broken. Fair criticism.
No, let me tell you what I'm concerned about. I have 9 children in my state today that are a victim of an intentional infliction of mental distress on them by Donald Trump. They have been removed from their parents without necessity, against the U.S. Constitution, not required by any statute, where there are alternatives. And this president hasn't looked for any of these alternatives. And now he's coming up with this, yet again, this document that he could change tomorrow with a tweet. We have to understand with this president, whatever he says, probably he will either change or wasn't true in the first place. And him trying to blame this on Congress, you recall he said, if you'll recall, for weeks, I can't change this policy. What a bunch of hogwash. The next day, he held up his pen and he signed a confession that he had lied to the American people. Now, propaganda is always a terrible thing by an elected official. But when it goes to the heart of injuring children, the country is revolting against this. And guess what? That propaganda did not work. He got caught. The country is on fire about this, Republicans, independents, and Democrats both. And they have forced him to at least purportedly back down. And that's because we have spoken up. And we need to continue to do that. And we need to be in court enforcing the U.S. Constitution. I do believe that
the idea that the kids and the families are being used as a political football by Trump, arguably to give a message of harshness to his base that we're strong, the Democrats are weak, and by Democrats who are going to use it as an example of what the right is about and why they won't compromise and why they won't work with them. And are you concerned that with your lawsuit, they'll look at Governor Inslee and say, He's in Iowa because he's running for president, and he's going to stand on this as a platform to go against Trump, and that's what it's about. It's not the law, it's politics.
Well, I'm in Iowa to make sure that we elect officials that will stand up to Donald Trump. And we need to elect Democratic governors to do that. We're doing that proudly. We beat him on the Muslim ban. Mm-hmm. We beat him on a number of environmental issues. We intend to create a clean energy economy in the United States, including here in Iowa, by stopping him from destroying the agricultural economy of the state of Iowa. Look, I was in Iowa today looking at the tremendous growth of their clean energy economy in biofuels, in wind turbines. But this is a president who wants to slow down the growth of clean energy. And I want to elect a candidate here and across the country. They're going to help our job creation in clean energy. You bet. We don't need sycophants for Donald Trump. The incumbent here in Iowa was named as the governor for Trump's country. That's not what people are looking for. They're looking for change.
Right.
They want some civility. They want a little truth. Is it really too much to ask for your president not to lie to you 5 times a day? I don't think that's asking too much.
Well,
so you bet I'm standing up for Democratic governors all across the United States.
There's no question that the voters are always anxious for change. It's what kind of change they're going to get that winds up determining the elections.
They deserve it now.
Governor Jay Inslee from Washington, thank you very much for coming to us from Iowa. Appreciate you making the case to our audience.
You bet. Thank you.